Hello, I am Unstoppable Tracy. Welcome to We Can Wednesday, where we WHOP, W-H-O-P, wealthy, healthy, on purpose, into action on this We Can Wednesday. Today, going to talk about innovation and talk about innovation in a way that I'm actually asking you to create tension. And I call it creative tension, to inspire that innovation and disrupt that norm that so many people use that expression for. So I actually kind of want you to burn the boats, so to speak. I don't know if you've heard of that expression before. When I used to work at Shoppers Drug Mart, we had this Blue Point leadership company came in, and they're the ones that gave me this insight into create tension when you're looking for innovation. So what are ways that you can engage maybe the folks that are sometimes called the weirdos? How can you engage those zealots that you sometimes are trying to tame? You know, my uncle was a tall poppy, shall we speak, and he would walk around the neighborhood as a postman and he'd get it all done in an hour. And he got in a lot of trouble with all of his fellow postmen because they did their whole shift in the 8 hours and got paid. So in order to get along with the team, he had to do a little bit and take a break, do a little bit and have a long lunch, do a little bit and have a coffee, do a little bit and have another coffee. He had to spread it out in order to be able to, and just so you know, he wasn't a postman in Canada, so I'm not dissing our Canadian postman, and I won't say what country he was in so that nobody gets dissed. But he was a tall poppy because he could get his work done really quick. So he was a zealot. And so to create creative tension for innovation, how do you engage those tall poppies, those zealots? And another way to create some tension, to get some innovation, is mix up everybody's roles. Put people in new places and new responsibilities, new accountabilities, and see what innovative, outside of the box, new way, new perspective comes out of it, even though they don't know that role. And make big, bold, public promises, like a deadline. I'm going to have a podcast to you by December 3rd. That's a big, bold promise, folks. And I'm putting it out there so that I role model what we speak. And that's massive to create a podcast in such a tiny time zone. There's only a few weeks to make that happen. And so big, bold, public promises that hold you to account. I did that with my book as well. I hadn't even written a word in February, and I had a bestseller published and printed by November. It was a big, bold, public promise that held me to account to make it happen. And introduce disruptive elements. So I'm sharing with you 10 tension ways. 1 is burn the boats. 2 is engage those zealots. 3 is engage everyone's role. 4 is bring in customers and ask their opinion. Has anybody during the COVID gathered what are some of the things that people need and wish in the pivoting? Number 5 was make bold public promises. Number 6 is introduce disruptive elements. If you always drive to work one way, drive to work another way, just to get your brain thinking a little bit different. And so what can you do that's a routine at work? Do you always make announcements on the morning if you're in a school? Or do you always have team meetings on Tuesday? So why not have the team meeting on a Wednesday? Disrupt the norm. And then number 7 is paint a compelling, disastrous picture of the future. The future unchanged. Paint a disastrous picture of the future. Number 7. Number 8, reward wild ideas. Rather than being naysayers or doubters, I don't know how that's going to happen, reward wild ideas. For example, Dr. Alan Bernard, a decision-making behavioral scientist in the world, incredible man, has customers like Microsoft. When somebody said, well, why don't we buy a bunch of equipment to harvest this mine, the coal in the mine, one of the companies he was consulting. And they're like, well, that's spending money when we're going bankrupt. But when you do the figures, the cost of the equipment and the amount of mine that would have been harvested and sold was 100 times profit. So it was a wild idea, but it was clearly, although it was spending money, a clear way to make money. And it was a wild idea. And number 9, confront team members with their highest aspirations. Ask them, what's your highest aspiration? And invite it and see what it takes. And that will create some tension, that will create some innovation. And make big personal sacrifice. That's another very bold request of me, but that's number 10 for creative tension. What's a personal sacrifice? Possibly it's a big stage where I'm getting good money, and maybe I personally sacrifice that for somebody else so they thrive. And that might invite some creative innovation out there. And so those are my 10 creative tension ideas for innovation so that you can disrupt the norm and have some breakthroughs. Thank you for joining me on this We Can Wednesday. Wealthy, healthy, on purpose, whop yourselves into action. I'm Unstoppable Tracy. Please subscribe, and please subscribe to this group, Wealthy, Healthy, on Purpose. Take care, everybody.